Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
Welcome to the Love Pod, everyone. I'm your host, Nathaniel, for today. I'm so pleased to welcome our special guest, Erica Lynn, who is just such a wonderful presence, and I can see why she is such a highly sought after transformational coach, as well as a motivational speaker, and the visionary founder of Podcast Academy. So I'm looking forward to know more about that. We just had the chance to touch base on a few of the projects that you're involved in, Erica, before the show. Some really interesting things, and I can see you're a multi-talented entrepreneur, and you really have a dynamic approach and some philosophies that you've included in your bio. I'd love to know more about them. You have some interesting events coming up, like the Stevie Wonder Love Walk happening in May. So I think this is going to be a really rich, beautiful conversation. So welcome to the show, and I'd just love to ask you to introduce yourself more to our audience and let our listeners know more about why you do what you do.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me on the show. I'm so excited. Yay. Because we were talking earlier and I was like, I'm in Canada
Yeah. And it's very snowy here. We got like a foot and probably a foot almost of snow, like half foot at least. So,
now.
yeah.
Yeah. So, for your listeners, I am a motivational speaker and a transformation coach. I coach people into walking into what's next into their lives, right? So many people have experienced that were either good or bad. And after they've gone through either their healing or completed college or actually completed that experience, they're at a standstill. They don't know how to identify or go after what's next for them. So my job as a motivational speaker and transformation coach, it's time for me to help you transform your life so that you can walk into what's next for you. And when you accomplish one thing, that's not it. Sometimes God has many things for you to accomplish. So you can't just stop at one. You got to keep going and going and going, right? Until you feel fulfilled, right? So nobody can give you that feeling but you. And so a lot of times people wake up in the morning or on a daily basis and they go, I know there's more to me. I know there's more to my life than what I've already experienced or what's happening right now. And so that means that it's time for you to transform into your next level, right? Into the elevation of your purpose and make an impact, not only just on you, but make an impact on the world. So that's one of the things that I do.
Well, and this is really, such important work, and the topic of purpose has become a very big topic because now in this day and age of emergent technology, we have gone from what I like to think the age of information into the age of transformation. And, if anything, we're feeling so overwhelmed by so much information. Now it's really our species is being called, like humankind, I feel, is being called to the next level of our collective journey. And for a lot of us, I feel like that means stepping into our higher purpose and the higher vision of our life, which God has called us to embody that and to be a presence of that in our world. So that's really uplifting work. What's your favorite part of doing that with people, and what has brought you to doing that kind of work, Erica?
Okay, so the favorite part is the result, right? The favorite part is to see the smile that a person has when they have walked into something that they knew was there, but didn't know how to get there, right? So I have a client, like every year I do take on like one, promotional client or however you want to, title it. And I pour into them, don't charge them, whatever. That's just my muse, right? Because there's things that's inside of me that I've learned that I just want to teach somebody, right? Those little extra zhuzh.
Yeah.
And I've been working with her for about 3 weeks now.
Okay.
And she called me the other day and she goes, Erica, I've made so much money since you've been pouring into me. Thank you so much. She was like, oh my gosh. She was like, my phone is just blowing up and things are just happening. Because not only do I give you those tools, but I also give you the tools so that you won't become overwhelmed. Because we will spend our days, we are excited about the things that's coming to us. But then it's like, okay, how do I manage it all? So you have to learn how to manage it from a little to when it becomes many that you're not you because it spirals fast. Have you ever heard somebody say to you, watch out, when it comes, it's gonna come fast. And then you always be like, thank you. Like, I appreciate the you pouring into me. I appreciate you advising me. But then it's nothing like it until you sitting in it and it's happening in reality, and then it just comes so fast. The clients coming, the calls coming, the things, and you just like, whoa, how do I handle this?
Mm.
And so I teach you structure. Right. So that's
Yep.
the best part about this, of teaching people structure, so that when these greater things come, that they're able to handle it, because they put the foundation in place in the beginning, opposed to later on when things are already out of control, and now you got to go back all the way back from the beginning and design some type of foundation plan.
That makes a lot of sense, because there's that sentiment, especially in business, like grow, grow, gone, and a lot of business, whether it's the founder, working too much in the business and not on the business, and they're just not growing in the way that creates feasibility, like, and when I think structure too, I think we have to increase our capacity to receive energetically in a lot of, whether it's more relationships or it's more flow of money. Like there's a capacity that we have and a threshold. Something I learned from a really beautiful book called the Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, is that we have an upper limit threshold. He calls it the upper limit problem. So a lot of us have this awareness, like we won't let the standard of our life get to a certain point, below. But a lot of people have this upper limit. When they pass it, they will subconsciously start to sabotage themselves and do things that will impede their success, just because they don't know how to handle it. So I can see why having a coach like you to help build that scaffolding, so that when that arrives, you have greater capacity for receiving and directing the flows, because I mean, a lot of people wish, just in the world we live in, that if you had, we all want more abundance and abundance of life. And for a lot of people, that's, excess money. But a lot of people don't necessarily know what they would do past, you ask a lot of people on the street, right? What would you do with, $100 million? They're like, well, I'd give half of it to charity. That's usually what someone says. To me, it's like they haven't developed their financial imagination. And most of us just don't have the skills to be able to manage flow to that level, right?
Yes. And I didn't always have it either. But the one thing that I learned early on is I started hiring coaches. I
Mm.
still have coaches to this day, right?
Yeah.
So, like when we walked into this age, or this era of I was like, I'm not touching that. But then I realized AI was not going away.
Hmm.
And so my business partner says, you learn AI and you teach it to me. Oh, that's cheating. But I had no choice, right? Because if I wanted to help our business evolve into the next level, then I needed to learn AI. So I take AI classes. I have my staff that works for me. They take these AI classes, and then they in turn part a lot of that knowledge back on to me and into the business. Because even though I run and own all of these businesses, you still have to know how to use your equipment, use your
Hmm.
software, because if something happened to your team members, they get sick or whatever, you got to know how to do this stuff yourself.
Yeah.
And so, but it's so fun. It's so
Yeah.
fun to learn.
It's a huge, it's super powerful tool, right? And I feel like AI is. We've had quite a few talks on the Love Pod about AI, and some of them very deeply philosophical, others very like implications of society. But just as the power of the tool, I feel like it's going to impact our world much more than the internet did. If we can even imagine what that means, like the internet completely transformed the way we do business, the way we interact with one another. And to have like an incredibly powerful tool, it requires us to also develop more of our capacity and structure to deal with these tools, right? Because they do have implications for good or for bad. So knowing, I appreciate what you're saying. I feel like there's a lot of, myself included, I would say, like passionate artists more, rather than kind of entrepreneurial spirited person who just really thrives on building something to sell it. Like a lot of us who get into entrepreneurism or business building, we have an important mission. We feel like a calling to fulfill a purpose, and it's not really so much about growing something to exit. And sometimes there's a reluctance to want to learn certain skills like manage the books or learn video editing skills or whatnot. And what you're saying is important too, because if we don't have any kind of grasp of how to do these things ourselves, then when we're in a situation where we have to, we can be in a predicament, right? One of the beautiful things about AI is to learn AI. AI is the perfect tool that teaches you how to use the tool. I mean, I
Right.
don't think we've had too many tools like that in history. Is like,
Yes.
yeah.
And you know what the funniest thing is? So a lot of I know when people, because somebody Googled me and they let me know what they found when they Googled me, right? So they just find all information about Erica Lynn Speaks, the brand and everything. But nobody actually really knows that I have a degree in certification in medical billing and coding,
Okay.
right? So when I tell you that's something that I can eat, breathe, and sleep and do, I do it. So I also have a billing and contracting and credentialing business, right?
Okay.
Because that was like, why not make money off of something that you know how to do with your eyes closed? And so as I am logging into, because I take on all these clients, so when people hire me, they hire me because their medical business is losing a lot of money,
Mm.
or they cannot figure out what we would say is why it's bleeding. And
Yeah.
so I come in and I stop the bleeding, and then
Mm.
I train and learn the policies and things like that, and teach all of their whole staff how to effectively move, because I don't believe in staying on a project more than 6 months to a year,
Mm.
because I need to go help somebody else who's bleeding, right?
Yeah.
And once I fix it, you don't need me anymore other than for me to consult with you. So I'm working in this software, which is a built software. Nobody has this software, so it's a customized software. And do you know, because I have Gemini and I do use Chat GPT, but I pay for Gemini. So I'm asking Gemini, how do I, get this claim to process? Because this, is no rule book. He doesn't even have a claim manual built for this. And Gemini told me what to do, and I go, wow. And it worked though. So that's just amazing that if you open up a screen that you're working in and you allow AI to tap into it, how it reads the programming of that particular software,
Mm.
even though there's no manuals or no rules out here for anybody else to follow.
Mm.
So I feel that AI is just amazing. But I want to ask you a question.
Yeah, please.
When it comes to AI, the older generation or the people who's not using AI, they say, I don't want AI to get in my business. So,
Hmm.
do you feel that AI will take your personal information and then just share it across the world? Or if you have a software or a system that you don't want nobody to know how, to get personal information, that would it take that? And if somebody asks, that it'll make it to, for the public?
So it's a great question, and I probably have a much different view on this than
Okay.
the majority of people that you would ask. And so I'll give some context before I answer. Well, truly, I actually feel like privacy is actually somewhat of an illusion, and I kind of I look at humankind as part of very holistically. My background's in Indigenous wellness, and I've been contemplating and studying path to true spiritual enlightenment for the majority of my life. And it's probably why I started getting white hair in when I was 13 years old. I've had a number of kind of experiences that have been very transcendent. And my source of knowledge on my path, I've gained from what are known as the Christ letters, and they're a source of information that started coming through a woman in South Africa in the year 2000. And why I'm bringing them up is because in those letters, Christ talks about how electricity and magnetism are actually the impulses of divine consciousness, and he goes into great detail to explain how and what kind of the source of our being is, the loving intelligence that brings everything into being. And so when I consider I look at it as an expansion of our collective consciousness as a species that's also rooted in the same impulses of consciousness that we are. So being, the circuitry and the electrical impulses that also basically keep our electromagnetic body functioning. So all that to say is, here I have something that we all know we call this is a smartphone. And for people who are paying attention, we know that SMART is an acronym for, what is it? Surveillance, monitoring, and reporting technology, right? So we have been being spied on as a species for a long time, and it's always been kind of like a wonder to me that we're not more in up in arms about it. I think that AI as a tool is going to level the playing field in terms of giving us access to, like, whether it's education or learning resources that are we're more reserved for an elite class of human beings who maybe self-appointed themselves because they maybe, say, learned the laws of existence before other people who are not so aware, and so I think we're coming into a greater time where to really evolve as a species, we need to mature spiritually, where we recognize our true oneness. I think that's the heart of the golden rule. And so if we can respect one another, that, like, privacy to me is more of a respect of boundaries. But in terms of information, I mean, if someone really wants to try to get information, it's very hard, I think, in this day and age, unless you just have things on paper in a safety deposit box that no one else can access. Like, but in terms of the digital footprints and stuff, I think it's impossible. That's my answer. I don't know, and that probably ruffles a lot of feathers, in
Yeah.
terms of that. But I think I mean, AI is already so embedded in everything
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
how can we? I feel like we either need to totally embrace it and take full responsibility for it as a species, or we have to, like, try to shut it down. And I think there's only one reality, like, is that it's here,
And
the
it's not
truth
going
is
nowhere.
it's already been around for a long time, just
Yeah.
in maybe a lesser form, and now LLMs and everything have really expanded its reach, and now with, like, multimodal AIs like Gemini, I mean, I think the greatest thing that we can learn, and this is my limited perception, but discernment. Like, because there's a lot of people right now, as we're talking, watching AI videos and they think it's real, but it's
Yeah.
clearly a fabrication of reality. And so I
That
feel like discernment is probably our biggest thing, Even
right.
like you're getting a call and that voice on the other end is not even a human. I've had a few calls like this and I ask it questions and it's deceptive. So you have to, like, trust this.
Right.
So just kind of to summarize what you're saying, I would say that it's really important we prioritize our relationship with our creator, because that's, to me, is what connects us all, including us with AI. So that's probably a much more expansive answer than you would have guessed,
Hey,
but yeah.
listen, but I appreciate the response because everybody has their own opinion, but I also like to see other people's views because sometimes it allows me to self-check, right?
Mm.
Because you might drop a nugget that or a perspective that I didn't look at before.
Mhm.
And so I appreciate your view on AI. You know what I mean? And you are absolutely correct. We have been getting spied on for a long time because I can have a phone conversation and I don't even think sometimes I'm on the phone and I say something like,
Mhm.
oh, I need to call State Farm, for example.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I go to my YouTube channel and then a State Farm commercial pops up. So I'm like, whoa, okay, so they are listening,
Mhm.
and so but the one thing that I can say is with the technology of social media or just AI, you can ask the features, how do I turn this off? How do
Mhm.
I turn this off? And I don't know if it actually turns it off, but you know what I mean? Those behind the scene features in your cell phone and your computers. So I don't know if it actually really for real turns it off, but those are what the people give you, when you scrolling down Instagram and TikTok and stuff. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I feel like all these technologies, I mean, the root word of technology is idea. And we tend to think of the gadget as the technology, but it's actually the idea behind us. And what is the idea behind cell phones and tablets and things? Well, it's about connectivity, and it's also about our ability to to share and express and communicate, not only with our friends and neighbors but with the world. And a lot of these things, inspirations, come from, like, Star Trek and things that were science fiction before. And so I feel like all of these technologies come from idea, which is consciousness. And I also feel like they are clues to our innate capacity as spiritual beings that we are beginning to remember and awaken to. Like, I actually feel like we're all psychic, because when you mentioned, like, phone calls and listening, it's like we also have these. It's like a universal human thing that I've heard, is like you're thinking about somebody, and then that morning they call you out of the blue, and you haven't talked to them for years or something, and so I feel like we're all connected in this larger field of for, what I like to think of as a loving intelligence. And so to me, I'm an eternal optimist, though. I think that we are often polarized towards fear because marketers know that that's what captures the vested interest of the ego and of our nervous system is like cause fear. But I feel like the more that we can kind of be in our calm and recognize that life is really for us. It's this experience that we give ourselves to go into our purpose, which brings me to the question about you. Like when you're working with someone and really going deep into someone's purpose, how do you help someone know that this is really their purpose and not like some other, like some business opportunity or something? Because I feel like alignment is a really important thing to consider in this day and age when there's so many opportunities. I mean, we have more options than our ancestors ever had.
Absolutely, absolutely. Purpose sometimes is not a one day, answer or a one day discovery.
Hmm.
There's a journey that we have to go on to discovering your purpose. So there's a series of questions that you have to ask yourself. First of all, you want to know, what is it that I feel like I should be doing, that I want to be doing, that I'm not doing right now? And then I'll always ask people, let's list a couple of things, a couple of ideas that you want to at least tap into, right? Because you might want to be a painter. You might want to be a jogger or a social media influencer. Like write down all of the
Hmm.
things that interest you. And then let's dive into them and tap into it, right? Because the one thing that you might have said, like, I really, really want to do this. And then you try it and you're like, I don't even like it, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about experience. Let's
Yeah.
experience these things. Let's walk you through it. Because the greatest example I can give you is when it comes to business. A lot of people say, okay, I want to start this business. And then, with all businesses, you got to have a website, right? And so when you get your website, you got to put all these things, on your website, like 20 different things that you do. But how do you narrow down your niche, right? You
Mhm.
have to truly understand what your niche is, the things that you're good at, right? So although I could tell you that I really am good at 20 other things, because I really am. And I even had to figure out, how do I narrow down that one thing? So the conclusion that I came to is I had to have more than one website.
That's
It's
awesome.
the truth.
Yeah.
It is. It's the truth. So you got I am Erica Lynn Speaks.com, right? Which I am the motivational speaker and the transformation coach. And then I do the podcast and I'm an author, right? But then I have a transportation service where we do luxury transportation.
Okay.
And the reason why I love it, because sometimes I do have to drive the clients and we have a ball while we're going, right? Because an average driver, you sitting there and you just letting the client ride in the back. But then I end up like cracking jokes and we have a great conversation
Yeah.
because we transport a lot of celebrities and stuff,
Okay.
right? And so they used to one way. But then you got the medical billing company where I just transform your money there, right? And so I said, okay, how can I be all of these things and but yet focus on one thing? And so you can do several different things, but then you got to just, like, you get the website and you stay to one point on this website, then you get another website and you develop, this other point, because you can do more than one thing. But what I realized is, for me, my purpose is helping others, right? So out of all of the things that I do, all of the businesses that I have, the one thing that you will hear me say is that I still pour into each and every client, no
Mhm.
matter what area of business it is. And so even when it's the celebrities, they always call and they say, "Where's that lady?" And I tell them, and it's so funny. I tell them, I said, I'm really not a driver. I said, I just own the company. But if y'all, you know what I mean? When we short of drivers, then I jump in the car and I'll go pick up a client. I was like, I'm really the director of operations. So I run all of this. And so you will just notice that I'm just personable with everybody. That's my gift. That's my purpose, to just continue to pour out, make people laugh, and do it in a way that they can connect with me. So that's like my superpower.
Hmm.
right? But then you have other people that they're doing so many other things, but then we got to identify what's that one thing about you is your superpower. It
Hmm.
could just be your smile. It could be the way that you respond. It could be like, because you know, some people are quick witted. That's not
Yeah.
me. I don't have quick, right? And so I love those people that are quick witted because they have a response, right, on any and everything you say. And you be like, dang, it cut, but they was right. You know what I mean? And so let's understand what your superpower is and let's play on that and let's build that out so that as you walking deeper into your purpose, that one thing that's special about you,
Mm.
it then aligns like in everything that you have going on with you.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. The way I think of that is singular focus. And so like your singular focus of helping others, and the fact that you can keep that, I'd imagine puts you at ease when you're doing all these multiple hats and you're probably just focusing on serving the person in front of you instead of worrying about managing. A lot of it is our perception of reality, right? Someone who's talking about managing five different companies compared to someone who's talking about helping people is a very different mindset and allows you to be more present and not worried about the logistics or things, but you're helping the person. That's wonderful. I mean, for me too, I found a singular purpose, even though I'm a multi, I would say multi dimensional, if anything, like in my career, in my expressions and my abilities and talents. But my singular focus is home, and that's an acronym for heaven on Mother Earth. And I really wholeheartedly believe that we can co-create a heaven on Mother Earth, but it does start within. And I believe it's very simple. It's just it's just focusing and cultivating a consciousness of being in unconditional love with all of life and with everything. And it is a journey as well, right? And so there's lots of levels of home, just like there's lots of levels of helping people. Because like when you're driving someone and making them laugh and making them feel at home, well, that's in the moment. And then, but also when you're getting on a podcast and helping, inspiring an audience and really drawing out the deeper parts of the person that you're interviewing, that's another skill set and can have implications. And that leads me to like asking you about the podcast academy, because now you're helping other people to start podcasts and to open their voice. And so I see you in this expansive role that you're taking on in multiple facets. So can you tell us more about podcast academy and kind of some of your vision moving forward?
Absolutely. So how the Podcast Academy got started, right? When I decided to bring Erica Lynn Speaks back, a lot of people always ask me, I want to do a podcast. How do I do a podcast? So you spend so much of your time helping people develop something else for themselves and a lot less time on what you have to do for yourself, right? The mandatory things that's done for yourself. So what I decided to do was I created a 3-tier package, right? So level one is a done for you package. It gives you everything that you need to know about starting a podcast, right? From understanding the niche, how to find clients, how to write up your script for your podcast, how to edit it, what software you need. And then it also gives you the things you need, like your content calendar. So I designed like Excel spreadsheets that were shareable through Canva so that you can walk yourself through each episode of your podcast and the phases that you go through. Did I send an email? Did I get the information back? Did I get their bio? You know what I mean? Just all
Hmm.
of the phases. So I say it's about 15 to 20 documents inside of the level one podcast academy, which is only $97, right? So these are individuals who already know that they want to do a podcast, have kind of been playing with it, and they need more information on how to do it for themselves. And they just need a little more help. And so then I gave them all the tools to self-starter. But then you got my second level where you really need to hear like weekly updates from the group coaching
Hmm.
or just to hear like the update technology on give me some more tips. I'm like, oh, okay, I can use this in my podcast. And then you got level three, right? Where you just like, look, Erica, I just need you to help me do this because I can't do it by myself. I'll just pay you. You write it all out for me, walk me through it. I'll get, tell me what equipment and software that I need, and then we'll go for there. So that's why I designed the Podcast Academy into 3 tiers, depending on your level of expertise or
Yeah.
expertise.
Yeah, that makes sense. So do it yourself, do it with you, and do it for you, basically.
Yes,
That's yeah, no,
yes,
that's awesome. And I feel like podcasts are a beautiful outlet to I know for me, it really allowed me to discover more of my genius. And I feel like there's a big distinction between operating from our level of in excellence
yeah,
and our level of genius. Really finding that thing, like you said, there's 20 other things that you're good at, but there's
yeah.
this one real, superpower that you have. And
Mhm.
I've always really found, other people's journeys really interesting, their talents. And I think one of my superpowers is the ability to articulate someone else's gifts and to draw out
Yeah.
more expansive perspective of themselves. And I feel like we all have a really important role to play in the upliftment of consciousness in our world. And so giving other people a vehicle like a podcast where people can really get to know someone deeply, especially if it's a long form podcast, not just like a 15-minute episode or something,
Right.
like, you know, I feel like we're in this time where on one side, people are saying, "Oh, people don't have any attention span. They're just flipping through, social media.
Yeah.
They're doom scrolling all this stuff." And that may be true. I've also heard the opinion that people are just making decisions faster. Like that's not for me. That's not for me. And people are
Mhm.
searching for something. And then on the other hand, we have like all these amazing people who are having like sometimes 2, 3, 4. I mean, sometimes I listen to like a Lex Friedman podcast. It's like 6 hours long. I might not listen to it all in one, but I'll listen to the whole thing because it's like on a deep subject that I'm interested
Oh,
in,
wow.
and so people also have the capacity to have these deep long form conversations and to listen. So I feel like we're in this time where people are looking for more connection, more depth, more community. Like we want to know. I feel like we don't just want to have the celebrity on the screen that we feel like we know them. We actually want to know people more deeply.
Yes.
I
Yes. Yes.
is that your experience as well, Erica?
Yes, I totally agree with that, right? So when I first started podcasting, my podcast was like 30 minutes. Then I felt like I could not get out all the things that I needed to share with the
Hmm.
audience. So then I went to 1 hour, and if it went over, it went over, which was fine with me, right? Because depending on who the guest was, then they would share some really great nuggets, as I
Yeah.
call it, that really help change your life. But then I got challenged to where guests, because we were going in this era where people were not coming, showing up anymore. Like we
Mhm.
hadn't really fully gotten into the Zoom era where we are now.
Yeah.
But so it was kind of before that. And so if a guest don't show up, you kind of like, what am I gonna do? So then I was forced to learn how to do a podcast by myself.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that means that I had to carry the entire show by myself. And how do I do that?
Mm.
So that was the initial challenge. But then once I got the ball rolling, I was like, oh, this is easy. So at first, I would write out sentence from sentence, right? And you could like see me reading. The camera would be like, the words would be behind the camera. And then when my team started telling me, like, oh, like we could see you not looking at the camera, and I would go back and watch myself. So then I learned to just put like, some key points
Yeah.
and, and go from there. But what I do love is the fact that the knowledge that we share
Mm.
might not be knowledge that other people have access to,
Mm.
right? So we give them access to things that is not in their daily regimen, or the news channel 247 will not give you, right? And they do get an opportunity to connect with us on a more personal level.
Mm.
And so I love that the most, because my personality really had to learn how to shine right through this podcast. Because if you ever go back and watch my very first podcast, and I talk about it, right? I did it with Pastor Leon McDonald from the Winter Circle Church, and I goes, "Hi, I'm Erica Lynn, and welcome to right."
Little
And
bit in your
so
head.
then, yes,
Yeah.
and so then while I'm talking, you can hear this echoing. And so we had the two Sony camcorders. Actually, we had one Sony and one Panasonic, right? And so we're like, where's this echoing coming from? And then when I looked, it was the headset. I
Mm.
had the headset sitting on top of the microphone stand.
Okay.
And so the sound was coming out of the headset back into the microphone. And so probably about maybe 5 or 10 minutes when my camera guy was like, it's the headset. So then I reached over, unplugged it, and threw it across the room, and then the rest of the show was good. And so the other thing was, I said the word awesome probably 25 times in that
Awesome.
particular, yes, because I could not think of anything else to say in response to,
Hmm.
what he was saying, just other than awesome. So I had to grow into who I am today. But the one thing that he said to me one day, he says, I pray that God helps you find your voice. And I said, huh? He said, I pray that God helps you find your voice. So I had to go and discover what that meant for me. And so now when I get on camera, I can have a conversation with anybody because I'm still going to be Erica Lynn
Yeah.
Speaks. My voice is not going to change. I might not have all of the answers, but it's okay to just be me.
Yeah, yeah, I love that, and you have a wonderful energy, by the way, Erica. So, I think it's so interesting. I feel like there's for a lot of people, and you must have this experience with people who are starting a podcast. There's this intimidation factor. People talk about being perfectionists, but really, when I hear that, it's like they're very deeply concerned about being imperfect. And there's this whole like wanting to do it super super well, but almost everybody who starts is like it's very it's very rare that someone starts at a high bar unless they are like maybe a celebrity who has camera experience and has all these other skills that they're bringing to the mix right off the bat. So I appreciate you sharing that, and I love how it just came naturally back to I'm just able to be myself. I don't have to have all the answers, and I feel like this is what our society is so hungry for this time. It's just people being authentic, not needing to have it all figured out. And I think that's what is this refreshing thing. I mean, it's interesting. This has actually been one of my challenges. I'll be a little vulnerable with you because
Okay.
I've always been very articulate and probably quite intellectual, and I'm a deep contemplator and I'm a deep meditator. I've been meditating for like several decades now, and I feel like sometimes when people hear me speak, because I do have the gift of articulating maybe complex things that are spiritual in nature and trying to deliver it in a way that is relatable and understandable through my stories and things. I feel like a lot of people will say, "Oh, Nathaniel has like life figured out," and like, and so I often feel like that's a thing that isolates me because I'm very much someone who's always wanted to do it together. Like I envision, us being in community where we have a young two year young little girl, and I Julie and I have struggled with this nuclear model of like it being just us raising this little girl. Like we really believe that we're meant as a species we have our own spaces that are ours and our private spaces, but why are we always having supper by ourselves, and why are we always like expected to do all the things? And we're going to be homeschooling her too because we have this different view of education and everything. So it's a lot of pressure for two people or single parents to like to raise a child, and so I've always had this inner yearning, whether it's being creative or doing activities or spending time in nature. Like I want to do it with other people and connect. And sometimes I feel like, we get in our own way of the abundant life and the success that we're meant to.
Yeah.
Sometimes in our greatest challenges are our greatest gifts. So, yeah, I don't know if I'm clear in how like
No,
because some
you
of
are.
yeah,
You
okay.
are. You're very clear. You're very clear. You're very articulate. Yes. Are you intimidating? No, because I deal with array of people, and again, just be you, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter how articulate, like I remember when I first started, I would be in the room with people with doctorates and master's degrees, and I didn't have that, right?
Mm,
And they would just talk all philosophical, and I'd be like, oh, right. But then later on, they all told me the same thing.
mm.
They said, I admire you, Erica. You are funny. Your personality shines. Well, I would love for to walk in a room and just light up a room with my
Mm.
personality. And so that's when I learned that no matter how educated you are, you still a human being.
Yeah.
You still, you know what I mean? You still have we still want your light to shine too. And so I learned that I can help people like you as well, right? Because when you finish dealing with me, then they like, oh my God, you are so funny. I did not know you was, because those are just some things that I naturally bring out in
Yeah.
people. And so I had to understand and identify what my superpower is so that I can help the intellectuals as well. And even in this season, like you had talked about, we touched on earlier, the Stevie Wonder walk, right?
Yes.
Man, it's some of the most amazing people that I work with in this group, right? So from the sound company who's been providing sound with Shane Park and all of our major theaters for over 30 plus years, to individuals who've traveled all around the world, famous dancers, Stevie Wonder's cousin, Dr. Sharon Dumas, like W.T. Williams, he's the Temptation, right? So I literally am in this room with all of these amazing
That's
people,
awesome.
right? And they all say the same thing. First of all, when I first started showing up in a group, I would just show up on in because we meet on YouTube or Zoom, I'm sorry. And I would have my camera on, and I was either coming from doing the show or something, but I wouldn't say much. But I was in there for the transportation company, right? Because we will be providing transportation for all those who need transportation if Stevie Wonder comes, blah, blah, blah. So then I just started smiling and laughing, and then people kind of started like, who is this lady? Who is this lady? So then I started getting phone calls behind the scenes of everybody trying to find out who are you and what do you do. And so behind the scenes outside of the group, I help everybody that asks me, whether it's develop a web, because I can build websites, I I do software, and or whether it's medical billing, or whether it's being your, providing the information for your assistant, like, or if you want to start, like, I do a lot. I really
Yeah.
do a lot. And so I appreciate being in this group because I am not the only one that's like a high performer,
Okay.
right?
Yep.
And but I love it because we all just connect like just family, right?
That's
So
beautiful.
the day at 4 o'clock will be our meet and greet that we actually meet in person. So I get to meet
Oh,
all of these
wonderful.
people. Yes, so I'm so excited, So shout out to my Stevie Wonder family.
That's so wonderful. Can you tell us more about the Stevie Wonder Love Walk? Like, I know it's in Detroit. What's the date? How can people find out more about it, Tracy, and
Yeah.
connect with you?
So it's May 13th, and they can go to the website, which is urbansolutionstad.org, sorry. So urban, URBAN, solutions, SOLUTIONSTAD.org. And all of the information is there on the website. And so I'm still adding stuff to their website, but it's
Wonderful.
there. And then if you want to donate or become a sponsor, because we are looking for sponsors, because the Stevie Wonder Walk is going to be a two-part thing. So
Okay.
on May 13th is Stevie Wonder's birthday. And
Okay.
so we're going to start at one location, and then we're going to walk to the location where we end at is where Stevie Wonder's street name has been renamed after him. So that's where we're going to end. And then we're going to have like a open forum meet and greet where, I can't tell you who the name, we can't announce who the name brand people that will be there because it's supposed to be a surprise as
All
far as the
right.
walk is concerned and security purposes. And so if you're there, you'll get to be a part of the who's who that's going to be at this Stevie Wonder's walk. But then in August, the second part, we're doing the festival. And so we're carrying on. So we will have the vendors. We'll have a lot of live entertainers from. So we're trying to either get Fantasia or a couple other, celebrities to come in. And so it's going to be an amazing opportunity. And when I tell you, I work every avenue of like wherever you want me to go, that's where I work, right? So you say, okay, Erica, I'm the motivational speaker, right? So you would think I'm on stage speaking. I'm actually handling the vendor tables, right? And so if people want to be a vendor, then they will contact me and I'll set them up their business and service. So I help out wherever it is. I'm
Mm.
saying that to say my britches is not too big that I can't be placed wherever they need me to be
Yeah.
placed.
That's
Yeah.
wonderful. You're a true servant leader, and reminds me of the importance of connection. It's something that I learned from Tony Robbins is the six human needs that we all have. And some of them are going in opposite directions. Like we have a need for certainty and we have a need for uncertainty and we have a need for significance and we have a need for connection. And sometimes those ones can get in the way of each other. And I think of a lot of celebrities, you must hear, if you're driving them, a lot of celebrities must often feel like isolated because, people will assume that they know who they are and will be all like, starstruck and yes, 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 and not really the presence that, just a real human connection. So I love that you bring that real down to earth, joyful presence, and you're a very cheerful person. So I can see how people just open up and feel relaxed in your presence. I feel like you're in this perfect, dynamic role of just serving people wherever you are, whether it's behind a vendor table or on the stage talking to everyone, or giving celebrities high fives and cheering them on, because there are people too, right? People forget this, like, we tend to put on these stages like our own fantasies, and these people, they have, lives that they want to just be present. They have families, they have things they care about. And so I love that you bring that down to earth, good vibe to the work that you do, Erica.
Yes, yes.
So,
Because I am
so
excited about the meet and greet today. So I'm like,
oh, I can
look,
tell.
because after we through with this interview, I'm gonna run in the kitchen and bake a cake. And I was like,
That's amazing. Well, I won't keep
bake
you much longer then, but I am
no,
curious to know, like, what is your higher vision for our world? Like, knowing all these, I mean, you clearly have a you're multi-talented in many ways, and you speak to a lot of different people in your podcast. And we're in a time where there's a lot of people who are maybe feeling polarized or are concerned about the future, but we really like to think about a higher vision for our world. So I'm curious, how do you see a higher vision for our world from your perspective?
hmm. Listen, this world is a little crazy right now. It's a little challenging, right? I think right now, just helping people navigate like where we at.
Mm,
You know what I mean? And I say that to say, do you remember when COVID hit, right?
mhm,
um, I was working and my mom them kept saying, go get some toilet tissue, these things, that. And I had no idea what they were talking about. So I usually have my earbuds in and I'm look at YouTube while I'm working. And so then this YouTube special came on about what was happening in China when COVID first hit.
mhm,
So after that special was over, I raised my head, I looked around, and I felt like we were at Residence Evil or something, right? And I was just like, oh my God. Like I just started freaking out, like, oh my God, right? And so for probably about a week, I just watched the news and I just it was bad, right? And so somebody called me that I hadn't talked to in a long time because they know my personality. And they said, I know that you freaking out. The first thing I want you to do is stop watching the news right now.
mhm,
Like,
mhm,
don't even
mhm,
turn the TV off right now. And then we got to begin to transition your mind, right? To
mhm,
get you back on focus. And so I said that to say that although all the things that are going on in the world today with our president and it's all of that, you still have to stay focused on your
mhm,
goals, right?
mhm.
Because he only can be president for 4 years, hopefully, right? Well, I don't know. Look, I don't even know the symbol, right? Look, hopefully. But after he's gone, we still got to get back to life. And while you're here, you still got to live life. You can't just throw in the towel. And
Mm,
so I just say that regardless of what happens in our world, because I can't predict the future, I just want people to focus on them and their goals and stay in the game and don't check out, right? Do
mhm,
not check out, stay in the game because there is a rainbow at the end of
mhm,
the road, you know? So I know that was kind of not a complex answer, but it's the simplest
Stay in the
answer that
game.
I could give. Stay in the game. Yeah.
Yeah. And also maybe for people who are still watching the news and all these things. Like I stopped many years ago watching that just because I just don't believe it's the truth. And I think there's agendas behind things. And even if there are, aspects of truth that happen, it doesn't if we really could see our whole world as one and all the beautiful things that are happening, all the good natured altruistic acts, all the loving relationships, and then we could compare it to all the negative and conflictive things and all the challenges that we're having, I feel like we'd be overwhelmed by love and just amazement of the miracle behind it all. So I love that it's called the Stevie Wonder Love Walk, because I feel like that is the interconnective glue behind all of this. And I think that is the game to me. So for people who are still maybe like frozen in fear, who are watching things and wondering like what's going to happen, I love your message. It's like stay in the game. And maybe if you're not in the game, like maybe it's a good opportunity to get in the game and get outside, take on an attitude like yours, Erica, of like, who can I serve, and serving the people that are around us, whether it is even just offering someone a cup of tea or a smile. When we do it with love, I feel like all of these little seeds, they amount to something much grander than we can even imagine. And I do believe we can create a much more harmonious and luxuriant world just from that small act of staying in the game. And
you're absolutely correct, because on a daily basis, I have to stay in the game. Even if I want to check out because something challenging came my way, I still have to stay in the game. So I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning before most people even roll up, and I'm getting in the game, right? And so now my challenge is to make sure that I implement exercising in my morning, even if I only do 20 minutes, right? Make sure I do my prayer and do my exercising, and then I get on the computer, then I get dressed, and then I'm out to another office doing this, that, or the other. And so there's days that I just be like, oh, I just want to watch Hallmark, right? Because that was Erica Lynn right before I came back from my hiatus. I did a 2.5 hiatus, right? We talked about that earlier. I did a 2.5 hiatus. And the reason why I took the hiatus, because Erica Lynn Speaks was at its highest. And I think you had mentioned that before, when people got good things going on, then they shut down. So Erica Lynn was I was at my highest, and I said to my staff, I said, I'm going to Atlanta for a conference. And I said, if God tells me to stay in and he's going to send me some sponsors, then I'll stay in the game. I said, if I don't get any sponsors or I don't hear from God, then I'm just going to take a little short break. So that break, so I didn't hear what I wanted to hear. So I took a break, and the break was only supposed to be 6 months. But it turned into 2.5 years. So now the challenge of coming back to be Erica Lynn Speaks, now that was the challenge, because the first Erica Lynn was heavy, because I focused on 7 techniques of healing. I helped from people heal from their pain points, and it's heavy. It's heavy to carry people depression and they, suicidal thoughts and all of that. And I'm like, I just want to be happy, right? So, but you can't, what I mean? That's not all the time feasible to just smile on somebody's face and they over here sad. So I was like, okay, Lord, I just can't carry that anymore. I don't know what to do. But then I got comfortable in my life because I'm making money, a nice car, condo, whatever. But then here come God sent somebody and they says, why are you in hiding? And I said, and I expressed, those things. And he says, I understand what my assignment is in your life, because God is saying that it's time for Erica Lynn to get back out here. And I was like, but no, it's so much to come with Erica Lynn. But so I'm thankful because I listened. I wasn't like, okay, I was pushed. Let me say this. I was pushed. I'm being honest, I was pushed. But now that I'm back and I'm here, I'm grateful and thankful, because I have made such a major impact on lives, on businesses, on just being an influencer. Yeah. And I wouldn't change it for nothing in the world. You know what I mean? And I always say, and you had touched on earlier, to people who are starting a podcast and how the algorithm goes. Be yourself, be organic. I don't care if you only got 5 subscribers. Show up on that camera like you got millions of views, because what's going to happen one day when you do blow up to millions of views, they're going to go back and they're going to watch all of those podcasts that you did from the beginning. And they're going to be like, oh, wow, she was crazy, right? But then don't even worry if you don't have all the equipment, right? Don't worry if you don't have the studio in the background, because, and I'm being transparent here today, if you go back and you look at episode 68 or whatever, we had just the furniture. It was like, because the building that our studio is in is an old college, right? So it was furniture that was in there. So we just put 1 chair for me, 2 chair for the guests. The very first episode we shot, the camera like conked out on us. The audio conked out. And so people was watching it like, oh, they calling in because we live, right? So they calling in like your mama's audio going out, fix it, fix it. So each episode we just got better and better and better. And I'll
Yeah.
be happy to say last week's episode was my first episode in the fully remodeled podcast studio.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Yes, yes, yes. So if you don't have it all, if it's not perfect, or you don't think that things is the way that you want it, it
Hmm.
doesn't matter. Just get your little one microphone, get your camera, get on
Yeah.
there and just start. And so that's the basis of my story. I didn't have all of the answers. I didn't have it all. Even coming back the second time, did I have the knowledge? Yes. But did I have all the financial means to just pop back out there like I had? No. But then I just did one episode after another, and each episode is just transcribing. I bought new equipment and bought new equipment, and I'm just happy to say, we got a new remodel studio, and then we had our first celebrity actually this past Thursday on the
Okay.
podcast. So
A-
I'm excited.
And who was the celebrity, may I ask?
So her name was Nikki Rochelle.
Okay.
Nikki Rochelle was the first African American female dancer and choreographer for the Pistons, the Detroit
Oh,
Pistons
okay.
dance
Wow.
team.
Wow.
Yes. And so she told a remarkable story how she went on tour with LL Cool J on his Japan tour, and how, she trained a lot of dancers that work with Mariah Carey and Beyonce. And she named all these people. I have no idea who they are, but they're famous in the dance world. But when it comes to Nikki Rochelle, she is amazing in her own right. And it was my first time that I saw my production team fan out. They was like, "Can we take a picture?"
That's amazing. That's amazing, Erica. Well, I love hearing your story of growth and expansion, and I feel like it's only just like beginning for you, and it sounds like it's this new phase that you're in terms of your own journey, and I love that you have a team that's there to support you. I think that's our next stage, is to evolve into a team, and we actually would love to take the Love Pod on the road and have a mobile studio that we love working with communities and doing events and getting people connected, especially intergenerationally, whether it's like grandparents and children or parents and children, and just getting people doing activities together. And I feel like there's so much a need for people to feel inspired by the stories of people like your guests. And I know you have a wonderful lineup of guests. You were saying before the show, now it's going to be mainly focused on celebrities and
Well,
their expressions.
it's a ray, right? So when we talked about coming back, we said we didn't want it to just be celebrities, right? We wanted to be regular, everyday people,
Gotcha.
and how you can identify with the stories that of the things that they went through and how they overcame it and discovered what's next for them, right? So although we have celebrities coming on the show, I still have the celebrities talk about some of the things that they went through and then how they moved to the next
Hmm.
level. So I do want to say I'm happy to announce yesterday was the confirmation text message. We will have the Dramatics. Are you familiar with the Dramatics, the singing group?
I actually am not. No.
Okay, Google it. So the
Okay.
Dramatics will actually be on the
It's a
show,
great
all
name.
five members, yes, on our
Okay.
April 9th podcast. And we just got a slew of celebrities. We got a lot of Motown favorites that's
I
going
love
to be on
Motown.
the
It's like my
show.
favorite music for sure.
Yes. And so the Dramatics are, Motown favorites. And I mean, so a lot of who's who that'll be coming to Detroit to perform, they will be on the podcast going throughout the summer and so forth. And so I love it. And I love to say this because I did not start here.
Hmm. Hmm.
I did not start here. I started with two camcorders, a little purple one and a blue one, the Sony and the Panasonic. So the quality wasn't even the same.
Yeah.
So I just kept doing it. I kept doing it. Even when taking a break and coming back, I'm here, and I worked my way to getting here. And if this message reaches or inspires somebody, you don't have to have it all right. Just start, and then
Mm.
just continue to stay on your path. And as you walking through your path, the doors will begin to open, light will begin to shine on you. You will begin to see and experience things that you have never ever experienced before in your life. And then you'll be calling me like, "Oh my God, Erica, you spoke life into me," because that's what I'm here to do, to
Mm.
speak life. And I want you to just take one step after another into the life, into the purpose that God has called you to walk into. That's what I do.
Amen, Erica. I love that. Yeah, you've got a powerful message, and I can see why people really resonate with your pouring into them life. And yeah, I feel like an enlightened world, we're all doing that with one another all the time, and we're remembering how important that is to uplift one another. So, thank you for being an example and a light in our world for that beautiful message. Really powerful, and I could feel you coming through the camera there. So I take that to heart as well, and it's I think it's something we all need to reminders of, no matter at what level of success or anything in life. We need those reminders that there is something next. It's we're often given this picture of like completion, and I don't know if it's from conditioning through education. It's like you get the degree or you get the $1 million, you get the thing, and then I can be at peace. And I feel like that's out of alignment. It's like we're these expansive and I think eternal beings that go through various parts of our journey until we fully are in remembrance of who we really are, and then the journey even begins in a new way after that. So very powerful. Thank you for that. Yeah,
You're
beautiful
welcome.
reminder.
You're welcome. You're
So,
welcome.
how can our guests you've shared a few resources, and so what's the best way to follow you to keep connected with you? And we'll certainly put that in the show notes as well, Erica.
Yes. So I'm a one-stop shop. If you go to my main website, which is which is I am Erica Lynn Speaks.com. So that's IAMERICA. Get it right. Don't put a K in there. ERICALYNNSPEAKS.com. Then you can find everything you need to know about Erica Lynn. So all of my social media links are, at the bottom of the page. And so all of the podcast, when we go live on Thursday, we're live on like 5 different platforms at one time. So
Okay.
so we are like 2 Facebook pages. We on LinkedIn and my YouTube channel. But in this season, I'm trying to grow this YouTube channel, because if you go to my social media pages, those have grown. But I really, really, really want to grow the YouTube channel. So if you guys can go over to Erica Lynn Speaks on YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel, I would really, really appreciate it, because it just take one person, then another person, then another. So,
Well,
but yeah, but if you just go to IamEricaLandSpeaks.com, you can find out everything you need to know about me.
that's wonderful, Erica, and we'll certainly subscribe to keep connected with you. I'd also love to invite you to our school community if you want to share your voice in there. Have you been on the school platform before?
Actually, I have a school platform.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I actually canceled the subscription like last week, because I was like,
Okay.
I don't need the paid version, because I don't, you know what I mean? I can flow. But yeah, I'm in the
Okay,
school.
cool. Yeah, I feel like it's a place of really interesting, authentic connections as well, and yeah. So I look forward to continuing to connect with you, and I always love to ask our inspiring guests this one question before we wrap up here, is if you had a megaphone and you could talk to everyone in the world at the same time, everyone could hear you, what would you share with everyone?
Let me see. If I had a megaphone, what I would say is your purpose is not always known, but you have to take the steps to discovering what your purpose is. Sometimes you're going to have to take one step after another step after another step until the steps are all laid out. But then when you discover your purpose, you walk into your dreams, you walk into your vision, and you walk into who God has called you to be. And if nothing else fails, just remember, it only takes just one step beyond you. God bless you.
Beautiful. I really appreciate your wonderful, cheerful, positive message and presence, Erica. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Blessings to you and your team and your loved ones and all those you touch and inspire, and also to all of our listeners as well. Before I invite our daughter, Luciana, to thank everyone for watching with a little outro, is there anything else you'd like to share?
No, just be the best you that you can be. And thank you so much for having me on the podcast. It was so exciting. I really, really appreciate the invite. And if you guys ever come over to the American side, you guys come and come get on my couch on my podcast,
Sounds great.
so we can bring Canada over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are actually planning a larger, once we have our mobile studio, we are planning to do work on the road and especially through the United States. I really like to challenge the narratives. Like, it's funny, there's often this perception of the United States, like, oh, there's so much conflict down there, the politics and all of this. But every time I go and visit, I'm like, I feel like everywhere in the world, people are genuinely good for the
Yeah.
most part. And I know there are areas where there's challenges, whether there's poverty or whatever. But I feel like, America is such a beautiful place, and we really want to connect with people and really inspire a greater view of community. So I do look forward to sitting on the couch and having a deeper conversation. We'll certainly connect with you when we're passing through, Erica, and yeah, and if there are any other inspired guests that you think would like to come and share about a higher vision for our world, please send them our way as well. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I sure will. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having on the show. You have such a wonderful brilliance to your presence. So thank you again.
For watching.
Thank watching.
Say have a great day.
Have a great day.
I love you.
I love you.
See you soon.
Soon.
Hey, bye. Nacho. Mwah. Woo! Woo! Again, you're